actions to speak out on what child care providers and families need made the wins in this budget possible. Yes. This is an important down payment as we make childcare jobs sustainable and reflective of the important work we do, but also in encouraging others that have the same heart to do this kind of work, something that is really badly needed now that we've lost so many child care providers due to this pandemic. This is an important, I'm sorry, I know we do not fight alone. I want to thank all of our allies and state legislators who stood by our side throughout our fight for union recognition, our first contract, and now investing in care for our children and the families we serve. We appreciate the support of the Assembly, the Senate, and the Women's Caucus. And we would also like to applaud Governor Newsom for making sure childcare will become more accessible to working parents. I know by having these strong leaders by our side, California's youngest learners will continue to thrive under our care. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Racine, for all of the amazing work that you're doing. And thank you, Governor Newsom, for all of the leadership you've shown on this important issue to families. I now have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, a true warrior for working families, Johanna Puno Hester, Assistant Executive Director of UDW AFSCME Local 3930 and proud CCPU Vice Chair. Sister Hester, take it away.
Thank you so much, Rico. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. What a great day this is. It is a pleasure to be here virtually with you all. My name is Joanna Puno Hester, and I am honored to be with the Child Care Providers United and UDW AFSCME Local 3930. I know how important early childhood education is for our state's children, and also how crucial quality affordable childcare is for working families. And so does our next speaker, who I have the honor of introducing today. She is someone who has spent over 2 decades providing exactly that kind of care to children in San Diego County, and the last 2 years in the trenches of helping to make our state's childcare system better for providers and the families that they serve. I am thrilled to be here today to introduce Miren Algori. As a member leader and part of our union's bargaining team, Miren fights tirelessly to providers like her across California, ensuring their needs are met and their voices are heard. In fact, in 2019, Governor Newsom assigned Miren to a special subcommittee of the Early Childhood Policy Council, a role she continues to serve today. Without further ado, and with so much pleasure, please join me in welcoming our sister, Miren Algori.
Miren? Thank you so much, Joe. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Miren Algori. I'm from San Diego County, and I am a proud member of the Child Care Providers United negotiations team. As a child care provider for over 20 years, I'm elated that our decades-long fight for a strong union contract has made a difference for providers, the children in our care, and the families who count on us. I'm a second-generation childcare provider, so I watch my own mother struggle to care for the children of working families. Except my mother, she went without organized representation or collective bargaining rights to help her advocate for herself. And that's why today's gathering is about so much more than a bill signing, and it's about so much more ensuring funding for our tentative agreement. It's about providers in the state working together to make sure high quality care is more accessible to working parents and ensure more children have the opportunity to start school ready to learn. We know that access to affordable childcare will be essential to the economic recovery from COVID-19. And we applaud you, Governor Newsom, and state legislators for making sure California has the funding necessary to ensure our childcare system is the best in the country. I also want to thank the legislators who stood by us throughout our fight for union recognition, our first contract, and the most recent battle to invest in the care our youngest learners need, along with the families who count on us. Assembly Speaker Randon, Senate President Pro Tem Atkins, and Child Care Champions, Senators Limon, Skinner, and Leyva, and Assemblymember Reyes. They lifted our voices and the voices of California children to ensure that a state budget left no one behind. We are so grateful to have these strong leaders in our corner and in the corner of California's early learners. Thank you again. And now I have the privilege of introducing Senator Skinner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mirren, for your great introduction. And as chair of the Senate's Budget Committee and vice chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus, I have to start with agreeing that this is a great day. I'm so proud to be here with our Women's Caucus chair, Assemblymember Cristina Garcia, Johanna, Mirren, Rico, our other dedicated child care providers, Speaker Rendon, and Governor Newsom. This year's state budget is historic in size, and AB SB 131 is among the bold investments that California is making to improve the lives of families across the state. I think we all know the pandemic caused a she-cession. Women left the workforce in larger numbers than men. Why? Because the care that they depended on for their children and their loved ones wasn't available. And if we're going to build back our economy and help those families, those parents and mothers get back to work, we have to have what's in this bill. This budget bill reflects something that not only our child care workers have been fighting for decades, but that the Women's Caucus has made a priority for longer than 10 years. It will ensure that 200,000 children whose families otherwise might not be able to afford childcare have a place. And for those who we trust to care for our children, who are predominantly women and women of color, they will have their pay increased. A victory, as was mentioned, many years in the making. And that victory of better pay for our childcare workers is in large part due to now many of our childcare workers having collective bargaining rights, the right to advocate for the wages, the benefits, and the conditions that are so needed to deliver the quality care that our children deserve. So I'm so proud of you for your organizing efforts and for your achieving this formation of the union and now this great contract. So with the bill signing, Governor Newsom, that you will do today, women and parents can get back to work in California as we build back our state boldly. So now let me introduce my chair of the Women's Caucus, Assemblymember Cristina Garcia.
Thank you, Nancy. I really appreciate it. It's so exciting to be here. I've only been in the legislature for the last 9 years, but for the last 2 decades, childcare has been a top priority for the Women's Caucus, fighting shoulder to shoulder with these great advocates out here. And so on behalf of the Legislative Women's Caucus, I want to thank the governor for working with the legislature to create a 2021 budget that supports the well-being of young children, families, and early childhood professionals. I also want to thank Assembly and Senate leadership and budget chairs for their hard work and commitment to our children and families in this budget. This investment is critical to our state economy and recovery, just like my vice chair just said. But really, this is about ensuring that we start to value and show that value in our professionals who take care of our kids on a regular basis. These professionals have taken care of our kids, of essential workers during this pandemic, and have selfishly put aside their own health and well-being to ensure that our frontline workers could get to work during this pandemic. They had been undervalued and underappreciated for a long time, but today with this bill and this contract, we are saying that we value you, we see you, and we respect you out there. And so for that, I am really appreciative as we lift up this professional group that are mostly women, women of color out there. And so I want to thank you all for that. We've seen a lot of women leave the economy, over 2 million across the US, in large part because of childcare issues. And so today we are ensuring with this investment that neither caregiving responsibilities nor the loss of a job pulls back our economic progress here in California for women, especially low-income women of color. Women will be able to confidently return to the workforce knowing that our state is committed to securing safe, nurturing, and stable childcare systems. Strong early care and education investments are critical to healthy families, and it's critical that childcare providers are compensated fairly. This bill reflects this year's budget priorities for the Women's Caucus, specifically increased slots, 200,000 slots like we heard, and significant rate reform. We know through experience that just creating slots without rate reform is not going to provide the spaces that we need if providers can't afford to stay open. It waives family fees for a year, and it modernizes payments options to child care and development contractors through the option to pay direct deposit. I want to highlight some of our Women's Caucus members who have been champions this year on a lot of what's in this bill. I want to start off by thanking and highlighting Senator Leyva for championing rate reform last year and this year through SB 246. Assemblymember Reyes for championing the family fees be waived through AB 92. And Assemblymember Quirk Silva for championing AB 865 to modernize payment options and other needed administrative reforms. Additionally, I want to thank Senator Limon, who authored AB 378 in 2019 to allow childcare workers to participate in collective bargaining. All of these women, as well as a number of other Women Caucus members, have led in this space for the years. And so today is just a culmination of all that work. And I'm just really appreciative for the champions we have in the caucus, but also for the champions we have in the legislature, including our speaker, Brendan, and our pro tem, Atkins, as well. I'm really thankful that this governor prioritizes women and families and has finally moved this profession forward with this investment today. I'm especially thankful for all the providers who have never stopped fighting to ensure that all of these providers are compensated with respect out there. And so I just want to say thank you. I look forward, the Women's Caucus looks forward to our collective partnership as we continue to make progress in this space. And thank you, Governor Newsom, for your unwavering support of families and women. We are so lucky to have you on our side and excited for what the future holds together.
Thank you.
With that, I want to present Speaker Anthony Rendon, who has been an advocate. I've had the pleasure of working with him for the 9 years I've been in the legislature, and early childhood education has been a priority. And a lot of the successes we have are in large part because of his advocacy along the way. Speaker Anthony Rendon.
Thank you. Thanks, Assemblymember Garcia. Appreciate it. As I think all of you know, this is one of the more significant bill signing ceremonies for me. Putting together the budget this year was not easy. It never is. But I'm thrilled that the governor, the pro tem, and the assembly all agree on the importance of funding childcare. I feel that those young children are the foundation of everything we want to do in California. This goes back to my decade plus of working in childcare services and the struggles that we went through when the state budget for those services were cut. This bill manifests the spirit of the work done by the Blue Ribbon Commission that I established several years ago. The commission's 2 years of study gave us a blueprint on what needed to be done. There is still more that needs to be accomplished, and we all know that. But AB 131 makes terrific strides in the right direction. I want to thank Governor Newsom and Senator Atkins, as well as Assembly members Ting and McCarty for their great budget work. The budget caucus, the Women's Caucus was critically important on this issue, and they have been steadfast on this issue for several years. Thanks to them, especially the caucus chair and my district next door neighbor, Christina Garcia, who you just heard from. I also want to recognize Secretary of State Shirley Weber and Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis for their support on this issue as well. Last but certainly not least, we absolutely have to thank the caregivers. They were frontline workers who were out there doing absolutely the toughest jobs on absolutely the most difficult days of the pandemic. It was their hard work that enabled many other Californians to keep things going. And that got us to today's signing celebration. So huge thanks to all the caregivers. Now I'm pleased to introduce the Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, a leader who has long shown his commitment to the needs of California's children. Today, he will sign his name to show that it is also California's commitment. Governor Newsom.
Appreciate it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for all your extraordinary work over the course of many decades. And this is even before you had your own child. I can only imagine how resonant this moment is for you and more personal it is in terms of your own lived experience. And, you know, without going into great detail, I only wish and I said this a year or two ago when we developed a framework where Mirren and others have been helping us on this, creating a master plan for early childhood education. I talked a little bit about my mother, who had 2 kids, 20 years old, and was divorced a few years later, came from no wealth or privilege, and just made it work, and did part-time jobs, full-time jobs when she could, and raised 2 kids on her own without a lot of support. And wish she was here to be part of this. We've long been advocating to raise awareness, to raise consciousness around the essential nature of our care economy, broadly defined, but particularly childcare workers. It's a remarkable thing to see so many of you here today, and particularly the power and potency of the Women's Caucus behind this effort. But it's also, disappointing that it's the Women's Caucus that has to be the strongest advocate for this kind of legislative victory. At the end of the day, our business leaders should also be front and center, and we should be developing strategies and caucuses that are more inclusive across genders. And the reality at the end of the day is this is about economic development. This is about fundamental infrastructure, the human capital that's as important as roads and bridges and broadband and all the other things that are now being debated and increasingly highlighted because of many of you in terms of public consciousness, because we have more enlightened leadership now in Washington, D.C. And want to just thank the Biden administration for also raising the bar. But I'm proud, Mr. Speaker, that California is doing it. We're not waiting. We talk often about California's demonstrable leadership. That leadership is alive and well in this state. We are moving the bar forward. We're not waiting for cues from Washington, D.C. We're finally moving to do justice, as was said, not just to opening opportunities for more slots, but talking about quality and talking about training and talking about reimbursements and talking about rates. It's about high quality investments so that they're sustainable. And just closing, speaking about sustainability, that's why I was so proud to work with so many of you extraordinary leaders to finally get that bargaining bill and get it signed. Because at the end of the day, now 40,000 strong, this hasn't happened in the country. This is one of the most significant and important organization efforts that has occurred in years and years in the United States of America. And you made that happen. SEIU, you made that happen. Rico, your team, UDW, ASME, you made that happen. And by the way, I'd be remiss, Alma Hernandez, thank you. Doug Moore, thank you. To the incredible leadership at the internationals and Mary Kay and others that really, Lee and Saunders, that were there 24/7, trust me, on my phone, making sure things were going on well throughout this process, not just when we signed the bargaining bill, but when we worked through the last number of months as it relates to coming to an agreement on that first contract. Never an easy thing, first contracts, but we got it done. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for not giving up on this cause and for setting course for a much more, not just enlightened future, but as I said, sustainable future. That's what workers' voices are about, and empowering this community of remarkable leaders and caregivers, disproportionately women and women of color, will have impact far beyond this industry. And so I'm really proud of that, proud of our state, Mr. Speaker, proud of you and your faith and devotion to this cause, to the pro tem who can't be with us here today, to Lieutenant Governor that made this one of her top priorities, to Dr. Weber, who we haven't forgotten was central to all this. Senator Limon, thank you. It's, technically we'll be signing onto your legislation, the entire Women's Caucus. But again, as the Speaker said, and I'll close with this, really, it was each and every one of you, the caregivers themselves. I saw y'all on the campaign trail everywhere I went, making a point, showing up in force, united. And I'll tell you, passion persuades. You did it. Your intensity, your commitment, your resolve. Thank you. We wouldn't, as the Speaker said, be here without each and every one of you. Final words. 2.6 billion reasons why we're really proud this year. That's just the commitment of investment in this fiscal year for childcare and early childhood supports. By the way, it doesn't include TK. That's separate. 2.6 billion. We are committed at a completely different level to that next generation. And so let's keep keep that momentum. Let's not make this episodic, and let's continue to reach, let's continue to meet our expectations and continue to improve upon the work that we are now advancing here today. With that, I'm honored now to grab the legislation and to have the opportunity to virtually be with all of you here today and to officially make this legislation the law in the state of California. To Mirren, Johanna, to Rico, Senator Skinner, incredible budget leader in the Senate that, trust me, had your back throughout and rightfully is with us here today. To all of you that are assembled, it is my honor to make this official here in our state. That's for all of you. Thank you for your extraordinary work. Congratulations. It's wonderful to be with you here today. Take care, everybody.
Make some noise. Yes.
Joanna made the noise with the emoji.
Yes.
Well done.
So excited about this.
The bear is in my ear. The bear is making noise.
Congratulations.